Cross the Minch northward from Kyle of Loch Alsh on the west coast of Scotland, and you'll come in due time to Stornoway, in the island of Uists, the gateway of the Hebrides. The arrival of the mail steamer is the event of the day in the Hebrides. Whenever you arrive, you're sure of a welcome from the big crowds on the quayside. Stornoway is the biggest and busiest town in the Hebrides, one of the biggest, in fact, in the north of Scotland. It boasts a castle, though not a very old one, built by the Matheson family, whose efforts have made Stornoway the busy and prosperous place it is today. Herring fishing is the main industry, and Stornoway herrings are famous the world over. Often in summertime, over 500 fishing boats congregate in its splendid harbour. At about 3 in the afternoon, after a sleepy morning, the harbour begins to wake up. Fishermen can be seen on the quays and rejoining the boats to inspect and repair their nets and gear. Then, at 5 or 6 o'clock, they begin to leave the harbour one by one for the fishing grounds. Steam drifters, motorboats, red sails, boats of every colour and size, and bearing the weirdest assortment of names imaginable. 12 hours at sea through the short northern summer nights, with only an hour or two of darkness, and they're ready to return at 5 or 6 in the morning, often loaded to the gunwales with fish. The moment that each boat berths, a sample of the catch is landed, and a bell near the pierhead announces that a sale will take place. The whole catch of the boat is then sold by auction from the sample, and the price will make a real difference to the trade of Stornoway. For if it is a good one, more boats will come in from other fishing centres. Meanwhile, the rest of the catch is landed, and the fish are gutted at long benches near the harbour. Gutting is a highly skilled occupation, and Lewis girls do it better than anyone else in the world. But who would envy them? Watch her hands and pity the poor fish. As she guts, she grades the fish by feel and throws them into one of several buckets according to whether it's a big one, a very big one, or just a wee bit bairn. Then the fish are salted and packed into barrels ready for export. The front of Stornoway is always piled high with barrels waiting to be loaded into ships. The Stornoway herrings go all over the world: Germany, Russia, and the United States. After busy Stornoway, the country districts of Lewis seem very backward. Quite a lot of black houses still exist that hardly seem fit for human habitation, particularly through the long, cold Hebridean winters. The thatched black houses are gradually being replaced by modern buildings, often made of corrugated iron, that seem only a very little better. But the crofters and country folk of the Hebrides are a tough, healthy race, bred to wrest a bare living from the soil without luxury or complaint. the corn produced in Lewis is ground in small watermills for local consumption. The shieling huts are the least luxurious of all Lewis dwellings. They are often built entirely of peat slabs, with only a tarpaulin covering for a roof. But these are only inhabited during the summer months, when the crofters take their cattle from the lowlands and mackers to the richer pasturage of the hillsides and glens. Gay colours are not much patronized by Lewis folk. Black is the universal colour, high days and holidays, even when working in the fields. Apart from the small crofts, there are also large farms, mostly run on up-to-date lines. Here is haymaking on a farm in the Eye of Lewis. In the centre of the island is a remarkable stone circle, which is more impressive even than Stonehenge. Curiously enough, the stones are arranged in the form of a gigantic cross, though they must have been erected long before the coming of Christianity to the islands. We can now only guess at their purpose, but island folk say that the great circle was the temple of a fierce and primitive priesthood, and that the firstborn child of every family was sacrificed at this altar stone. We may hope that this is not true, but no evidence one way or the other remains. The only witnesses that survive are the grim faces of these great upright stones. Not far away at Carloway are the remains of a Pictish dune or fort. If we bear in mind that this was probably built more than 1,000 years ago, we shall realize that the Picts were not jerry builders by any means. Double walls everywhere with passages between, and a well-designed fireplace and chimney. Its original shape would probably be like an old-fashioned beehive, a design well chosen to resist the elements. The extreme north of the island, the butt of Lewis, is almost on a level with Cape Wrath on the mainland, and is a wild, bleak place at any time of the year. The west of Lewis, going further south, is quite different. Rocks and cliffs give way to great beaches covered with sand of the purest white, which would delight the eye of any holidaymaker. The Uists sands are unbelievably clean. No flotsam, not even a trace of seaweed, mars their pearly whiteness. As one goes southward towards Harris, the country is wilder again, and the flat plains of Lewis are replaced by mountains. Harris, though it's always spoken of as a separate island, is in reality joined on to Lewis, the boundary on the east side being this stream. Tarbert, the capital, is a pleasant village and the home of the celebrated Harris tweed. Recently dyed wool can be seen drying on the bushes outside his house. The actual weaving is still carried out on hand looms in the houses of the crofters. cloth is woven, it is warped to give it a fine, soft finish. This process needs several pairs of hands and a good deal of elbow grease, so the weaver invites her friends and neighbors to lend a hand. The Tarbert industry is very successful and has brought prosperity to the homes of many crofters in the island. Not so, however, is Leverborough, called after its founder, who tried to establish a herring fishing centre which should rival Stornoway, Yarmouth, and Hull in importance. $2 million was spent in the construction of great roads, quays, and factories, but the experiment was a failure. And today, Leverborough is a sad place with only its name and the ruins of great buildings to recall the high hopes that once centred in it. Almost at the extreme south of Harris is the beautiful church of St. Clement Rodhill, the oldest building in the island. Taking ship at Rodhill and sailing westward through the Sound of Harris, we come to the rocky islands of St. Kilda, the furthermost and loneliest of the Hebrides, where Atlantic rollers break with unchecked fury. Until lately, St. Kilda was inhabited, but now the only living creatures are the seabirds who nest on its high cliffs. Leaving St. Kilda, we sail eastward again. South of Harris are the islands of North Uist, Benbecula, and South Uist. They have just missed being either one long island or an archipelago of small ones, and there seems to be far more water than land in them. The roads wind tortuously among lochs, and many embankments have had to be made to carry them. South Uist is famous all over Scotland for its fine horses. To the south again, at the end of the chain, is a group of little islands, Eriskay of the Lovelilt and Barra. A fishing boat will take us to either, so let's cross the Sound to Barra and inspect the Trivor, or Great Cockle Strand, where more cockles have been gathered than anywhere else in the world. The capital of Barra is Castle Bay, another centre of herring fishing. Rising out of the waters of the bay is Kishmul Castle, the romantic stronghold of the MacNeil chieftains, in the past the most arrogant of all highland chiefs and the most accomplished pirates. Every night at sunset a trumpeter walked the battlements and cried, "Hear, O ye people, and listen, O ye nations. The mighty MacNeil of Barra, having finished his meal, the princes of the earth may therefore dine." The event of the year in Barra is the games. No socialite function, this. The competitors are all Barra folk, and the spectators too. The meeting comprises piping competitions, athletics, dancing contests for the young and the old, and there's an agricultural show. Almost every soul on the island is here, either as a competitor or a spectator. Among them, the MacNeil of Barra himself, 45th of the line of chieftains. The day closes with a pony race, and as the sun sinks over Kishmul, we bid a reluctant farewell to Barra and the Western Isles, and sail eastward through the dusk.